Hi, hello. I am Anneke from i3 Technologies, and together with Lucy, we will explain you how the integration from BookWidgets in i3LearnHub works.
Hi everyone, I am Lucy, just saying hi as well, but yeah, my part will follow, so I'm giving it back to Anneke. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lucy. So let me explain what is i3LearnHub because everybody of most of you will know BookWidgets, but you don't know what i3LearnHub is. Well, i3LearnHub is a cloud-based solution where you can actually create interactive lessons to teach in your classroom. The good thing about this is it works on any device. So you can prepare it at home at your own computer and you can open it in your classroom, whether you have the same computer with you or you just use your classroom computer. The only thing you need is the internet and the URL app.i3learnhub.com. We will give you all the details at the end of the webinar and in the recording that you will get. But to make you more, give you more the visibility of what i3LearnHub is, I actually bring all these things together in one slide. So what I already told you is that you can prepare it at home to actually bring more interaction and interactivity in your classroom. And the good thing is there is also collaboration. So that means that there are some buttons where you can bring collaborations as an extra value in your classroom as well. When you open your i3LearnHub, then you will see kind of a whiteboard. You will see some tools at the left side, at the bottom over here, and at the right side. Those basic things I will explain you like in just some simple sentences. I already told you that you can prepare lessons in advance at home and you can save them in the cloud and use them whenever you want, but you can use it as well as just an interactive whiteboard which you can open just whenever you want in the classroom. As an example, for example, you can just open a background. You see, this is really created for teachers. It is an application which is created by teachers for teachers. So you can have colors, checkers, lines, and let's just select one and we can add it to the whiteboard. On the bottom, you have your tools to write. Let's take, for example, a pen. At the left side, you can choose a color or even add an extra color which you need. Select the color, select the style you want to write in, and just let's start writing. Let's write like, for example, this on your screen. Once you've written something, you can actually select it as an object and then you can replace it very easily or do some extras with it. I'm not going into detail, but just to give you a little example about what you can do with this. Of course, you can choose a lot of tools. For that, we created our favorite tool, or actually I call it most of the time my pen case, because I can put all the things that I need in my classroom, I can put closely together in this. In here, I selected just my cursor, your pens, some measure tools, and some other colors, and you have like 3 different spots in your favorite tool. Normally, it will look like this. I actually just used the pen in a green line. I can just add it over here. I want my cursor to be in there as well. I want to use my sticky notes. I can select one and put it in here. Why is this so easy? Now I can go to just this tool. I can use or take my sticky note. I can write something in it With my green pen, I can take my cursor and now I can remove my sticky note very easy. Just a simple example why this could be an extra value in your classroom. Of course, there is also the possibility to add some text. Let's just finish this. I open my text editor, just tap on it, bring it in, and now I can just write any words. Again, when I go to my cursor, I can replace this. This is why this is just an easy way to use in your classroom. I already create some things. I go to my start or home button, and then you can see that you can find the save or the save as button. This was a lesson which I already created and I can save it with all the new things that I brought into my lesson, or I can save as another file. This file I can put in my personal or in my public library. Let's say I put it in my personal. It can just be the copy because it's a save as. I can call it copy of my BookWidgets webinar. I go to my next button and it's just like following up on the next steps. I can use it for secondary. I can even choose a subject, go on, and then I can put some extra hashtags. Because, for example, this was a webinar, I can edit. That means that when I go later on and I don't know the title of my lesson, I can just add webinar, one of the short words, and I can find it easily. I fit in all my words. I just tap, and here it goes. If I want to open this one the next time, I can easily go to my recent lessons, or I can go to my library. I go to open. I go, for example, to lesson. I can choose in my content, or I can go to the public library, and then I can find some of the lessons that I created, which I can reuse. Just reopen, adapt if I want, and use it in my classroom. Just a simple example. Even in this slide, and I will actually just erase this one. Even in this slide, I can show you another thing. Okay, it is an example for the primary school, but let's see. You can create one of your shapes, for example, and we will make an exercise where you can use your infinite duplicate to do this exercise. For example, this is what I create. I have these shapes. Let's take another one. I take a square in a different color. Let's say we use this one, fill color. I create one of these, and so on and so on. I already prepared something for you because I created these things, what they need to do, and I can see that I used a wrong color. Let's go to the red color. I can easily change it like this. What we will do now, I will actually select these. I will go to my infinite duplicate. And now what I can do is I can finish my example of my patterns by creating these things. Just a simple way to show you how you can use it as an extra. Nice things to do as well. Tap on one of these buttons and you will see you will have correct, red frame, wrong answer, cover and hide, what you can do with some of the objects. This is one of the examples. Where are the European architecture examples? Tap on this. Yes, that's the correct one. Tap on this one. wrong exercise to do. So what I show you now is how you can create, or some examples of how creating an interactive lesson. Later on, you will see that these things are very nice to combine with your BookWidgets things. This is a nice one as well. You can actually have very easily a split screen or a multi-screen in your classroom. That means that you can add an exercise in your lesson. You go to the multi-user button, which is in our collaboration button. Tap on multi-user. I want to use this for three kids who come to the front of the classroom. I create my lesson and look what's this. Now I can choose my color. For example, this student wants to write in blue. This student wants to write in, let's say, green. And now they can write actually at the same moment, they can write on the screen, this one in blue, this one in green. At the end of the lesson, you can just stop your session and you will see that everything what your students have written will be there, so you can give some feedback at their lessons. Not only writing and post-its and all these things, but as I just show you, there is a way to collaborate in your classroom or collaborate with your students when they are in the classroom with their own device, or maybe as a homework which they can do at home. Again, in this button, there is a nice way to do the multi-user. You can share your file with your students, with all the content which is in my lesson, or there is also a way to have a virtual classroom, a bit like what we have in a Zoom conference or a Teams conference or a Google Classroom, but we have our own classroom where you can actually have the interaction with your students in the virtual environment which you created. Very nice to do, of course. To stop and to show you, we also have like a very interactive way to use with your students. I want to use the quick quiz with you. I already have the question in my presentation. Do you like this I3LEARNHUB as an extra value in your classroom? Again, I go to my collaboration button where I can use my quick quiz. I only want my 2 answers. This is something that I actually am doing right at this moment. I want my thumbs up or thumbs down, and I create my quiz. This is my QR code which you can scan. What you can do now, you take your photo app, you scan the code, you tap on your code, you just enter your name, the QR code or the code from this connection is already there, and you tap on the button connect. What will happen right now is actually you will enter our free Connect website, which is actually always free. Whether you are a student or a colleague, no matter what, it is free the whole time. What you will see on your site is just only the button which you need to press, whether you like it or you don't like it. You just tap on one button and you submit. The nice thing is that actually now we can see, or I can see, how many people of you have actually joined my quiz, and even, maybe that's a tricky one, I can see who answered on what question. So This is a nice way just to have a small evaluation in your classroom with our free collaboration tool. If you want to know more, there will be some extra webinars just on I3LearnHub, and we will share you as well the YouTube channel and more information about this I3LearnHub. But today we will talk as well about how we integrated the BookWidgets application in our application, because we think this is really an extra value. Up to you, Lucy.
I am also in the I3LearnHub here, and I want to show you how BookWidgets is standard integrated inside the I3LearnHub to make your lessons even more interactive and fun from just one big screen in the front of your classroom where you can do fun things and get on with your learning and lesson content and share it with your students in a very innovative way. So the first thing is, when I want to add a BookWidgets activity, I can go to the Home tab right here, and everyone will see this here, that there is a BookWidgets tab right here. So when I'm creating a new activity for my students to open, for me to open on my whiteboard, then I can choose to also add a BookWidgets activity. So when I click on my BookWidgets button right here, if you already have a BookWidgets account, it will ask you to connect your BookWidgets account right now to one you already have created. It might be that you're using BookWidgets inside some other learning management systems or just as a standalone tool. Then you can use the same account with all your widgets and activities already in there to integrate it inside the I3LearnHub right here. It's also possible that you don't have a BookWidgets account yet. So when you click on this button, you will be prompted to create your own BookWidgets account from scratch, and you can start for free right here at this moment. So the most important button about BookWidgets here is a create new widget, because that's what this integration is all about. You're going to enrich your Smartboard lessons, your whiteboard lessons, your digital board lessons with BookWidgets activities that are perfect fit to just have a one-to-many classroom experience right there. So our widgets are actually digital templates that you can fill with your own content. And I think a lot of you guys already have a BookWidgets account and know this stuff, but I really want to just quickly go over it so you do understand what BookWidgets is all about here. So we have about 40 different templates that are the perfect fit to create a very engaging learning experience with your students. And we do know that some teachers might use it to do summative evaluations. This integration is solely based on a interaction one-to-many on the whiteboard screen that you have in front of your classroom. So I am going to pick out a few of the activities later on to show you, to inspire you, which of all these widgets you can use to put on your board, and to ask students to come forward and to do some fun stuff with all these activities right here. So this means that when I clicked on the create new widget button, that I can just go in here and create my activity right on the spot where I am now. I do have something ready already, so I'm not gonna do that because it's gonna take a long time. Yeah, not a long time, obviously, but it's gonna take some time, and I really want to inspire you with all the activities that are possible here to put in the I3LearnHub and to share with your students on your big screen. So I'm going to cancel this one, and I have these activities ready here. So for example, I would like to show a randomness activity. So I'm going to check it by clicking on the show. And this is the activity I want to share. So for example, I want to integrate a name picker in my lessons, in my whiteboard. Here, I can just put this on anytime I want to pull up the randomness name picker. that I created with BookWidgets. So I'm going to create a lesson. I'm going to save it right inside I3LEARNHUB. And whenever my students don't answer or I need to pick a name, I can pull it up and use it right away. So I'm going to pick choose. So here I have now my whiteboard with my random name picker right here. What I do next is save it because I want to use this later too. So I can save it right away. I can also use it right away. So that's also easy to just click spin and pick a name, or to pull a student forward to hit the spin button on my big screen. That's also always nice to do and very exciting for my students. But I want to save this as I want to use it later on and again without going to BookWidgets, choosing the activity again to put it there. Those are more steps than needed. If you have this lesson saved in your I3LearnHub, you have it there, and that's the best way to go. So if I'm going to save this, I am going to do file sharing, and I'm going to share it in my LearnHub right here. It's also the same thing as Annika just explained. If you go to the Home tab right here and click on the Save or the Save As button, you're at the same place as well. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to store it as a personal one. It's going to be a random name picker. It's going to be for my primary students. And we're going to, it's other, it's not really a subject. Hashtag name, maybe students, and then it's class 3B. It might be interesting to have your classrooms in there in the hashtags, because this one is really specific for my classroom right here. And it's right in there where I can find it again. So when I go to the Home tab, now I can find in my recent lessons the random name picker, where I can always click here to open this immediately. When I open the I3LearnHub app, I can just click here and it will open immediately and pull up, give me a good student name picker. Always a nice exercise to do. Those randomness widget activities you can do very well on just a one screen classroom. I have some other interesting widgets for you that I've made, so you can see the value of which widgets you can pick here, which BookWidgets activities are the perfect fits in I3LearnHub right here. So I have this one, and I'm going to open it. Here we go. And we do have some things here below that we can always use. So everything that Annika just showed you, you can do on this screen as well. So if you want to add, highlight some things, or if you want to add some more explanation, create a table with some theory, all those kinds of things, you can put also on the widget type. But it's important to kind of also understand the difference between these two buttons, which is my marker, but also my inactivity marker. So when I click on this one, I can really do the BookWidgets activity. When I do this one, click on the other one, I can use the bar there and go draw over everything in this field, or in my next lesson when I go down, I can also add some more stuff. I'm now picking here the in marker, and I am asking one of my students to come forward and give me a push on an example of an onomatopoeia. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. So what is actually this? It might be a good idea to explain you a little bit more. So when the sound kind of looks like the word, or the sound is kind of the same as the word, that is a onomatopoeia. I'm not gonna say it again. So that's actually, for example, the hoot hoot. That would be that word. So this is a hotspot image widget where you put an image, and there you're gonna put interactive sounds or images behind it when your students click on that spot. Here again, I'm gonna do the same thing. Oh, Nope, that's not what I indicated and what I meant with a onomatopoeia. I'm gonna do something else, like say boom. And then they can hear the boom. So it's a very fun interactive activity. You can just pick a student, maybe with your name picker that you just created, and the student comes up to the board and clicks on clicks on a box that he thinks that resembles an onomatopoeia. So that's also a lesson you can do using the hotspot image widget activity from BookWidgets. I'm going to show you another one. Okay, so here we do have the summer solstice. This is a quiz, but it's a quiz that has the options on that will take my students through and at the same time give an explanation of the quiz, of the learning subject. So in this case, I'm giving them instructions, but I'm also providing them with new information in a very interactive, classical way. So I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna continue and I'm sorry, I have to click this one to go in the activity so I can do this. And I can ask an open question to my classroom. So for example, what does the solstice really mean? And some are gonna say sun stand, sun point, and I'm gonna go, for example, with sun stand. And I'm gonna click ready. And then I get the information so I can explain that indeed the word of solstice is derived from the Latin, sol means, and so on. So they get new information as they go through your quiz. And when you go further, you also provide them with some video materials. So it's a fun way to deliver your new instructions of your new lesson materials, but still interact with your students because you're asking them questions and they're excited to know, is it that answer or is it something else? And they might even remember better that way. So for example, when I do something wrong, it will still explain me that what the right answer is and give me some more explanation that I can deliver to my students this way. So this is a quiz. It is important to know that the activities you're sharing with BookWidgets are activities that you're going through classically, so with all your students, and your students don't have to submit these students, because if you in another way already were a BookWidgets user, you might be familiar with the one-on-one teaching. This here is a little bit different as you're doing a one-to-many teaching. So again, I'm going to show you another nice activity. That was a quiz. Now we're going for a timeline activity. Here we go. So a timeline, it's also fun, for example, that your students all read the same book or had the book with the same characters in. Here the assignment is that my students have to add all the key events. So we're going to have a classroom discussion, and one by one, we're going to add all the events on our board. Again, can't forget that. Here. So we're going to have add every event, describe the event, maybe upload an image and so on. So also event number 2. And we're going to do this together with our students to talk about the book and to create this timeline together with our students. Also a fun activity that it's something that's more innovative, more out of the box than how you're supposed to do it, how you probably normally do it. Again, we can add our boxes, we can add titles, we can even add images that are stored on the computer that we're using there. So that's a timeline activity, also a nice one to add some boxes. Again, here you can ask a student to come up and add a certain event that he thinks that comes next. If other students don't agree, then the other student can come up and maybe put it in a different order what the other student put in. For example, we have one student that said, okay, this is event 2. But the other student says, no, there's something else that happens before. He fills it out and they can move it right there. So a fun thing to do. another one. Let's see if we can, yes, this one. This is a worksheet about the bee. Obviously, it's an interactive worksheet, so we can provide our students with very easy multimedia materials in one worksheet on the screen within I3LEARNHUB. So when I go through this lesson, I can easily, so my students are actually learning about the bees. It's an introduction. So for example, first they need to see a video. So we're all classically watching a video about bees.
Tools. Because
And then we move on. So let's see, okay, inside the hive, what's it about? We're going to give this lesson. My students are learning about this. And the fun thing about it is that I can zoom in on the images. So this is really my slide, my interactive lesson. And I can read this, or I can ask a student to read out loud as well while I go through my lesson. And I move on again. Some theory here. One happy bee family. These are the queens, the drones, and the worker bees. They learn about these things. The fun thing here is if I want to emphasize something, I can go to my highlighter. Sorry, this is the highlighter. For example, yellow, that's perfect. And I can emphasize that, for example, the queen bee is the only queen. There's only one queen. That's a very important one to know. She's also the largest bee, and she's the mother of all the workers. So I can use my highlighter tool to really give and bring my lesson to my students there in my classroom. And I can do the same thing, for example, so the drones, they are males, and there are 3,000, and the worker bee is female, and there's 60,000. So I can use that highlighter tool easily. So when I move on in my worksheet, I want to delete those edits because otherwise it's going to be on there. But then again, with my explanation, it is interesting to have that emphasis on some certain words. And then we can move on. So this is the activity then. We had some theory. Now we're going to do this activity classically. So everyone wants to be a queen bee. And then I'm just going through my students and they have to fill it out. And I added a automatic correction immediately when they put in the words. So it's very good for my students to understand immediately what's right or wrong. And even if they make a mistake, for example, the queen of a animal, oh, it's not coloring green, then that student that made this choice can still revert and find something else that really fits here. So like this. And we go through our worksheet. There are some other activities that we can, I'm just doing this randomly. But again, I'm doing very bad. But you can see it's completely automatically graded here too. So your students immediately learn the right answers. Some 3D model of a bee that I can put in my worksheet, that I can show in my lesson. It's very visual and interesting that way. Again, the anatomy of a bee, I can zoom in on the image and so on. So that's basically what I like to show you for the worksheet widget that also work perfectly. But again, my students don't have to submit it. I can go over it and show the answers to see if I made mistakes and so on. That's also possible, that you can here see all the right answers afterwards too. Okay, we're gonna go back and we're gonna show another activity. And that's also one of my favorites and one of the newest BookWidgets widgets we've introduced this year. So I'm not gonna save. Yes. And that's the video quiz. So when I do want to show a documentary or an interesting introduction video of a new learning subject, or something, just new instructions actually, then I can show a video. But I also want to check understanding during that video with my students. And instead of doing this one-on-one, It's always nice to watch something together as a classroom, because one-on-one it's actually pretty hard because all my students do need some earplugs. So in this case, some headphones, not earplugs, some headphones. So in this case, I'm just showing my video as a whole to all my students, and then we're having those those reflection questions on the learning matter right after at those points. So I'm going to show you how this works.
You're in functions, like helping cells adhere to their neighbors or binding to nutrients the cell will need. Animal and
So here we go. We're watching this video together. Obviously, I skipped through, but you can also not skip through, so all your students will listen to everything and take on all the information. And at this instance, we're immediately going to check your students' understanding. So it might be that they still make mistakes, but this is already something to practice. So you can ask your students, okay, come on, a cell, what's a cell? And then they can make here the connection. So I think that would be it, and they can make the connection. When you did the quiz, you're gonna continue to the video, and you're gonna watch again with your students until the next question pops up, and then you're gonna go through this again together. It's a good thing here to already provide the right answers immediately, so they don't wonder about potential mistakes that you're gonna have to go back to. So always make sure if you're doing classical lesson that they have the correct answers.
this process starts in the nucleus. The nucleus.
The fun thing is that you can use 36 different question types to add to your video quiz.
Plant cells make energy.
So for example, in the last one, we're going to have this summary of all the parts that they learned in the human cell. But then again, we also do have a fun crossword riddle to also go over all the important keywords they learned and their functions. So that's a very nice way to have your lesson, to finish your lesson with a video quiz and to do it classically in a one-to-many teaching environment. So let's see if I do have something else. We do have the flashcards. I'll show you this one. So for flashcards, it is an interesting thing because normally in BookWidgets, our study and practice buttons for our students are on top. But to make this work, as you're a teacher and you're standing in front of a big screen and you have to flip the cards and do this classically, obviously those buttons need to be on the bottom of the flashcards, where my students can flip the cards and then choose it as a different mode, a study mode or a practice mode, which will be on a timing. And then they can go through the cards. That's the same thing for you. So for example, you're going to do this lesson in a classical environment. So I'm going to ask, what does it mean by the bullet? So I'm going to have this classroom conversation going, and I'm asking my students, do they know them already? And if they don't know them already, they will learn it on the spot. And if they, so it would be new instructions to them too. So for example, bite the bullet, then my teacher clicks here, and then they can see, okay, it's to get something over with because it's inevitable. We can do it now because we'll have to do it anyway. And then go to the next one. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. What does it mean? And you can ask your students, and then you can flip it when some student guessed it correctly. And we go on and we go on and we go on. So that's also a nice one to do with your students. You can also just jump to one student or to the other in the row. I would always count which one I would be and when, which activity I would get. But here, yeah, they don't really can look forward to the activity they're gonna get. So it's a little bit random. So that's the flashcards widget. Then we have the multiplications table. This is the arithmetic widget. And it is very, very nice to quickly practice multiplication tables, because you just have to, you can create this widget in, I think it's like less than 1 minute to just add an activity, add your numbers, and then it's gonna give it automatically. It's gonna assign activities and multiplication tables randomly to your students. So again, you can show this on the screen and go through your students, ask them, okay, what is this answer? So it would be 15, and then you would say, am I correct? And I'm correct. And then my students can do it like that. It's also a fun way to have your students line up just on your board, so they can type in the answers right here and then say, am I right? Yes. And then we can skip one. If a student doesn't know it, they can still skip one and then do the other one right here. And let's say I'm gonna make a mistake. Am I right? Nope, I have to try again. Oh, am I right? Yes. And there's a reward word showing up, which is also great to motivate your students. You could also give some hints or some clues if you're doing a scavenger hunt, and use the different tables here, the different whiteboard pages that you have to add some other content in your scavenger hunt. So there's so many things you can do with this integration with BookWidgets in i3LearnHub right here. I think I do have one more. Random name picker. No, that's probably it. No, that's the one. That's the last one here. So this is a whiteboard widget. A whiteboard widget gives you a whiteboard on a whiteboard, obviously. The things here, what you can do is give a description. In this case, my students need to use the stickers I've put ready here to drag and drop them on my persons right here. So for example, let me see, today I'm wearing a short green dress and red high heels. So I can ask one students to read the first sentence, to come up front and to dress them like they've just read. So it was a green dress. We're gonna put it right here, and it were red high heels. So the student can pick red high heels, and they can dress the person, the character, right? Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's okay, like this. So it's also a fun assignment to do, to have a whiteboard with stickers. They can also draw on it, but then again, you can do the same here with the I3LearnHub. It's just some ideas. If you already have some activities here, it's a good thing to do it in the I3LearnHub. I think that's it for me. We do have some interesting more inspiration. I shared a lot of them with you already, but we do have a blog post on bookwidgets.com/blog about the 10 fun lesson activities to share on your classroom screen. For example, a pair matching game. I didn't show this, but it's also a fun one to have your pair matching game there. So to pick out a student that needs to click on a sound to listen to it.
Nose.
And then make the right connection to have a pair, and then the next student and the next student and the next student is combining the right pairs on your big whiteboard. The randomness wheel spinner I talked about the adaptive timeline as well. The mind map is also a nice lesson idea to share and to show, because you can brainstorm here on, for example, classroom rules where my students need to add some tabs and connect them to give them colors and to add boxes wherever they would like here to do it. So things they like as classroom rules or things they don't like as a classroom rule. So make sure to check it out. You can also use a word search activity where your students, if a student finds something, they come up to your screen and they can highlight it. For example, I can see here Minnesota. Now, when they have the state, they also have to state the capital of the state. And that's something that's not in here, but it's a very good activity for your students to remember and recognize the things they've learned before in that way. So they're going to trigger their knowledge there. So yeah, it's a fun one to get some more ideas. Most of them I shared all already, so, but make sure to go check it out.